Now we're going to graph two different lines, and so I'm going to go to y equals again. And while I'm here, I can see my previous equations that I used. I can just arrow to whichever one I want and hit the clear button, and that'll delete it. We are going to be graphing 2x plus 3, which I already have typed out, and negative is going to be this button in the bottom right corner next to the enter button. The subtraction button is not the same as the negative button. You will get an error message if you try to use the subtraction button. You have to use this button between the decimal and the enter, the one with the negative sign inside of parentheses. So negative 1/2. In order to make a fraction, I'm going to hit alpha, which is the green button in the upper left corner, alpha, and then y equals. And that gives me a pop-up to make a fraction. And I just want option 1, so I'm just going to hit enter. So alpha y equals enter to make a fraction. And there you can see I have a line with two boxes, one on top, one on bottom. So on top, I'm going to fill it with a 1. And I'm going to arrow down to the bottom and hit 2. Now I'm going to type in x, but I don't want that x to end up in the bottom of my fraction. So I'm going to use the arrow button to arrow to the right to get outside of the fraction. And then select x. Again, that is next to the alpha button. And then plus 1. So I have 2x plus 3 and negative 1/2 x plus 1. And again, I want to look at this on the graph, so I'm going to hit that graph button in that upper right corner. And here I have two lines. These look very different from the first two lines that we graphed. So I would like for you to go practice doing this in your calculator and then sketch these lines on your notes. Welcome back. We have just graphed y1, which is 2x plus 3, and y2, which is negative 1/2 x plus 1 on our calculators, and we are going to look at the differences. I have already graphed them on my notes. You should have as well, and I used highlighters to differentiate which is which. So the blue line is y1, which is 2x plus 3, and the orangish line is y2, which is negative 1/2 x plus 1. So what do we notice about these two lines? What's different, especially when comparing the lines we graphed before? These intersect, and that's really all we can definitely say about them right now, is that they intersect. What is the slope of the first line? So the slope of y1 has a slope of 2. And the slope of line 2 has a slope of negative 1/2. So what do we notice about these two? What's the differences? What are they similar? How are they similar? One thing that I like to do to help myself think about this is take that whole number of 2 for the first slope. And how would you write this if you were talking about rise over run? What would that say? So just a solid 2 would be the same as 2 over 1. So that might help you look at these two slopes and compare them. So one thing I notice is one is positive, one is negative. And another thing that I notice is that they're kind of flipped of each other. So they're like flipped fractions. So they're not identical by any means, but they have similarities. So one is 2 over 1, and the other is 1 over 2. One is positive, and one is negative. This relationship between these two slopes we call our opposite reciprocals. Opposite reciprocals, and that means we flip it and change the sign. And opposite reciprocals are perpendicular. Opposite reciprocals are slopes of perpendicular lines. So looking at, I have a little note up here. So parallel lines are two lines, or two lines are parallel if and only if they have the same slope. The exact same slope. So for example, we might have a line that says y equals 3x minus 1 and y equals 3x plus 7. Those have the exact same slope of 3. Or you could have a line that says y minus 2 equals 1/2 parentheses x minus 4 and y equals 1/2 x plus 8. Well, these also have a slope of 1/2. One is in point slope form and one is in slope intercept form, but the slopes are still the same. Again, that number in front of the x is what we are looking for. Lines that are perpendicular, two lines are perpendicular if and only if their slopes are opposite reciprocals. And you can check this to see if the product, which means multiply, so the product of the slopes equals -1. The product of the slopes equals -1. So for example, 2 and -1/2. So that's the same as 2 over 1. When you multiply this together, you get -2 over 2, which is -1. So for our examples for slopes, we can use y equals 2x minus 5 and y equals -1/2 x plus 7. So those slopes are opposite reciprocals. Or we could use something like y plus 3 equals -4 over 3 parentheses x plus 3. And the opposite reciprocal would be 3 over 4, positive 3 over 4. And we can just say x plus 1 or something like that. Oops. So again, those slopes, -4 over 3 and 3 over 4 are opposite reciprocals. And so that makes this true.